Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mensch. In my last video, I highlighted and showcased OnlyOffice, a replacement for Excel and LibreOffice, and it works in Windows, Apple, and Linux. In the video before that, I showed how to use a calculator in the Linux terminal called Calculate with a Q. Now, today I'm going to talk about rounding. So let's get to it. Today, I'm not going to go into a virtual machine. I'm going to work in my real bare metal computer. And of course, I'm running Arch Linux with the awesome window manager. So first, I'm going to open up OnlyOffice. I'm just going to right click here. And I'm going to go to OnlyOffice. And I'm going to open up a spreadsheet. And I'm going to make this, I'm going to zoom in a bit. And let's just make that a little larger. And now what I'm going to say applies to Microsoft Excel, LibreOffice, and OnlyOffice. And what I've noticed over the years of working in offices, that most people don't know how to calculate properly or how to use a spreadsheet properly. Either they don't know how to use it or they're just lazy or too busy and they can't be bothered writing formulas. So a lot of people will calculate like this. Now, if you do, say, positive 3 divided by 9, and this is a side issue, it doesn't work in OnlyOffice. Now, in Microsoft Excel and in LibreOffice, if you do plus 3 divided by 9, it works. In OnlyOffice, you have to do the equal sign. Okay? So let's do equal 3 divided by 9. And look at, and we want to do that again, 3 divided by 9. Oh, I got to do equal. Well, let's just drag it down. So now we got 4 of them. Now, most people only want to have 2 decimal points. So they will highlight it, right click, go to format cell, and they might go to number, make it like that. Or they might highlight it again, and they might go to number and make it currency, or go back and make it accounting. And either way, it doesn't matter really. Okay, they go, great, I'm down to 4 decimal points. And then they'll total it, okay? And let's just make the total bold. And let's just write in total, okay? Now, if you look, there's something wrong with this because 3 4s are 12, not 3, right? So really, it should be 132, not 133. So when you round this way, it's not mathematical rounding, it's cosmetic. Now, of course, somebody's probably looking at this and going, Mensch, what's wrong with you? Who cares if it's a penny off? What's the big deal? Well, in a calculation like this, it doesn't really matter. But if you're calculating large numbers and a whole row of numbers, it could make a difference. So the proper way to calculate would be this. Let's do equal round bracket 3 divided by 9, comma 2. Okay. Now, this looks the same as this, right? Well, except for the dollar sign. And let's drag it down so there's 4. And let's total it. And let's just bold it. Okay. So now it's 132 because 3 4s are 12 and it's rounding it properly. And now this one on D, we have it as, it's set as accounting, but it would be the same thing if we change it to number. See, it's still not rounding it properly. And also if we change it to currency, still the same, eh? It's not rounding it. And if we change it to general, let's go back. Let's change it to general. Now you can see what's happening, okay? Now this one's already on general, okay? We could change that to, let's go accounting. It's rounding it properly. Let's change it to general. Okay, So this is proper mathematical rounding, and doing it this way and changing it to one of the different formats is just cosmetic. Okay. And this type of functioning works the same in Excel, LibreOffice, or only Office. It has to do with multiplying, dividing, and adding, and so forth. So I've known about this for a long time, and I always like to round properly. And if you highlight this, that's the proper here. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of small, right? So that's how you round. When I made my last video about calculating in the terminal using Calculate, somebody wrote in and said, I just hit the start menu, open my calculator, and do my calculations. Well, if you're running a Linux desktop environment, first of all, if you're running Windows, you're going to have a calculator. And if you're running any Linux desktop environment, you're going to have a calculator. You know, you're going to have either GNOME calculator, calculator, it's spelled with a G instead of a C, calculator, or Mate calculator, one of the other calculators that come with the desktop environments. But if you're running a Linux window manager, you're not going to have a calculator unless you installed it. Now, if you used my post install script, my Arch Linux post install script, you're going to have GNOME calculator. And that's this here too. Click this on, open up calculator. And there it is there. Now let's try here and see what happens. 3 divided by 9, and didn't realize my face was covering this, equals, and it's rounding. Okay, let's try times 4, and it's 133. You can see that it's not rounding properly. Because again, this is cosmetic. It's not mathematical rounding. Now I changed the settings. There's settings here. There's preferences. And number of decimals, I put it to 2. But if let's kick it up to 10. And close the preferences. See? That's the answer. It's 1.33333. So if you go into here and change the preferences and put it down to 2 and close the preferences and do that times 4. Whoops. Let's just clear it. Let's do 3 divided by 9 times 4 equals 133. It's cosmetic. It's not rounding properly. And the same thing goes for the little calculator that's available in Windows and any other calculator like Calculator or Mate calculator or any other calculator that's available in the Linux environment. Now I'm going to close this, and now I'm going to open up another workspace, and I'm going to open up a terminal. So let's go to terminal, and let's make this a little larger. And so then 2 videos ago, I made a video on a calculator that works in a terminal. It's called Calculator with a Q. You in the other video how to install it, so I'm not going to go through that again. And the way you open it is this. Okay, so now it's opened. So let's do 1000 times 2. And in that video, I showed you how to have a comma for your thousands separator. So I'm not going to show you that again. And in that video, I showed you how to set it to 2 decimal points. So let's clear the screen. Control L clears the screen. And now let's do 3 divided by 9. It's 0.33. And let's do 3 divided by 9 times 4. And it equals 1.33. Now, we all know that 3 times 4 is 12. So when I made that video on Calculate, and I showed you how to change the settings to make it 2 decimal points, I didn't realize it was only cosmetic and not mathematical. So what I've done now is I've turned it off. So I'm going to go set maximum decimals off. Okay, now let's clear the screen, Control L. Let's do 3 divided by 9. Okay, now if we do times 4, it's still going to be wrong. 1.33333 to infinity, right? We know 3 4s are 12. So I'm going to leave it like that because I don't want my mathematics to be cosmetic. So if I want to round it, I'm going to do this. Let's clear the screen, Control L. Let's type in round, bracket, 3 divided by 9, bracket, comma, 2, bracket, times 4. There we go. It's 132. So now it's rounding. So the formula is very similar to the formula that's in your spreadsheet if you want to round it properly. And that's how you round it. So I'm going to leave the setting to make it only 2 decimal points turned off. Now, another thing I discovered is this does exchange rate really good. The only thing is you need to know the abbreviation. So I'm in Canada. So I'm going to do $1 USD. And look at it shows the exchange rate. Now the Canadian dollar is a lot lower than the American. And the exchange rate changes all the time. So what you have to do is, I'm going to just exit out of here like that. I'm going to clear the screen and I'm going to go back in, calc, leave a space and do a dash and a E. And that's going to update the exchange rate because the exchange rate changes every day. I think it changes more than once a day. So I'm going to update the exchange rate. And now we're in calc with an updated exchange rate. So now I'm going to do $1 USD equals $1.43. Okay, now let's say I want to do I want to buy 5,000 American dollars. Let's do 5,000 USD. Going to cost me $7,000 Canadian. I'm going to have to spend $7,000 Canadian to buy $5,000 American. Now I'm going to clear the screen. Now let's say I want to use I want to know, Universal Time is 5 hours ahead of Toronto, Canada. Well, sometimes it's 4 hours, depending what time of the year it is. Now, let's say I wanted to see what time it is in Universal Coordinated Time. I would type in now 2 UTC. And you can see right here, it's the 2025, January the 15th, 2348. So it's 10 to 12 at night in Universal Coordinated Time, UTC. And that's it. In this video, I focused on the topic of rounding in mathematics, very basic rounding, and the difference between cosmetic rounding and mathematical rounding. And I showed you how most people, when using a spreadsheet like Excel, LibreOffice, or only Office, do cosmetic rounding. And of course, the example I showed you only showed the difference between a penny. But like I said, if you're dividing and multiplying and adding a large column of numbers and large numbers, large figures, it could make a difference. And I showed you how that cosmetic rounding also works in calculators. Like the calculator in Windows, well, I didn't show you it, but believe me, the calculator in Windows, it's cosmetic rounding. GNOME calculator and many of the other calculators in Linux world, in the Linux desktop environment. And I showed you how to round properly in the spreadsheet, and I showed you how to round properly in Calculate, the calculator that works in the terminal. And I showed you how to turn off that 2 decimal setting so that you can round properly in Calculate. And I showed you how to look up Universal Time. And I showed you how to look up the exchange rate from Canadian to American. Now, of course, for the exchange rate, if you live somewhere else, you're going to have to look up on the internet, find the abbreviations. Like the abbreviation for Canada is CAD. The abbreviation for the United States dollar is USD. So it will do the conversions for you for any country, but you have to look up the abbreviations. I don't know if there's a way to look up the abbreviation in the program itself. Maybe there is. I don't know. I barely know how to use the program. But you can look up the abbreviations on the internet if you live in another country, and it will do the calculations for you, the exchange rate for you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time. I am the Linux Mensch.